marching band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Wednesday night is here, and it means it's time for another live edition of Auburn Family Night. This is the show most weeknights, or excuse me, most Wednesday nights, where we get together with you, the Auburn family, and focus on what you want to talk about. Your topics, your comments, your questions, and your calls. All that's coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we discuss and share in the Auburn experience, all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us. In what we're going to be doing today here. I don't know why I just had a brain fart there. In another live a show here for the Auburn family. And obviously, it's the end of the year, and I am just firing on all cylinders right now. Welcome to Auburn Family Nights. It has been a minute since we have been able to do one of these. I feel like we didn't do this last week. I think we have had a lot of conflicts with basketball and personal schedules over the last couple of weeks, but we are here. We are excited. I think we did do it last week, actually. Either way, we're here tonight. It doesn't matter. I'm rambling. It's Auburn Family Night. It's not about me. It's about you guys. So come on in, hang out with us, and spend some time today hanging out with us, talking about Auburn topics, Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. If it's orange and blue, it is what we do. You can start the show off on a great note for us and do this for yourselves, too, to help us build the best little family within the Auburn family by smashing that like button. Hit the share button as well if you're watching on a social media platform, the repost button, whatever it is for you guys. That is a huge help in letting people know that we're live, that they can participate in the show. And especially if you're live, if you're on the replay, certainly you can interact and all that kind of stuff. But if you are on the live portions, the big thing, you can let us know where you're watching from. Check in with the War Eagle. And of course, we want to hear Merry Christmas for you all as well. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Obviously, we primarily celebrate Christmas here on our end. And we're going to be saying that a lot, but it's a wonderful time of year where you can have a lot to celebrate and be cheery about. And we're going to try to do a little bit of that here as we've been for a little while. You'll see that the Christmas elements that I sometimes bring out, creepy Auburn Santa is back there. The lights, which I know some of you despise how they're set up. It's the best I could do this year. Probably be a little bit easier next year. This little area back here and kind of behind me as well is probably going to change just a little bit. Not so much here other than maybe rearranging and things like that. But we got some exciting things that we're going to be trying to do at the turn of the new year as time allows, things like that. I'm still rambling. Let's talk about it. Auburn Family Night. We're going to get into the topics that you want to discuss tonight, and you are now able to enter into the call-in link. If you would like to take advantage of that, please do so. We'd love to have you talk to us tonight. You can be on camera, off camera. All you got to do is click the link at the top on YouTube. It should be other places. If it's not, I'm sorry. We'll try. We can share it out in the chat if you need it. But certainly do not be shy this evening. Let us know that you're here and call into the show and hang out with us in that fashion as well. We want to hear from some different people tonight and some of our regulars too. All right. So really we'll go where you guys want to go, but let me set the table as it were. We say the football foundation is set in the title. That's obviously because the coaching staff is now complete for on the field positions, unless there's some surprise we're not aware of. I'm sure there's support staff out there. You have a 2026 schedule. Other than game times, it's set. It's ready to go. So really the football future of the foundation is set. Certainly talks about transfer portal and where's recruiting going to pick up at and where's Auburn going to go for this retention, all that's there as well. We are fully in the swing of Auburn basketball season, and certainly there's been a little bit of a lull. There's a big game coming up this Saturday. We can certainly talk about it a little bit. Women's basketball is finally getting back into gear as well, so that's all out there. And before you know it, we'll be talking about spring. It's also Christmas time, and we want to talk about Auburn Christmas stuff. If you guys are wishing for something this Christmas in terms of like Auburn gear or Auburn merch or something like that, certainly we can talk about that a little bit too and celebrate that. And then as kind of a final point on that of setting the table for you guys, as we went live, I realized that this will be the final Auburn Family Night of 2025. Let that sink in. New Christmas Eve is a week from today. I will not be doing a show on Christmas Eve. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. We will also then have New Year's Eve. I will not be doing a show on Christmas Eve as well, as far as I know and can tell. Now, you never know. I think I've done one year when it worked out with my schedule as best as it could. But unfortunately, this is the last one of the 2025 year. So when we get back together in this format 3 weeks from now, we'll have to even look and see if there's a basketball game contending with that. It's just going to be one of those seasons for Auburn Family Night where we try our best to get here on Wednesday nights, but there will be things that sometimes get in the way. This year, both the holidays are doing that. So savor this, take it in. Double tap those likes and those share buttons if you can, and let's get going. Let's get going with our discussions this evening. We got some people check in with us tonight. Good to see you. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas all the way around. Is it Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas? It is Merry Christmas. It is absolutely. We said Stan says finally have a guy staying instead of leaving. There's a lot more staying than are leaving. I think people lose sight of that because they obsess about the people that are leaving more than they're staying. I think you all do realize that, right? The majority of the team is still there. It's just not the ones that y'all want to talk about. But certainly some of the more high profile names have been discussing. Xavier Atkins today is the one that announced that he was officially coming back. Now, the shocking thing about this to me was I didn't really assume that there was going to be an announcement or anything like that for him because he had already said in a post-game interview after the Iron Bowl that he was either definitely coming back or probably coming back. So I guess maybe there was more question to it than I was aware of. But hey, I'll take it. The X-Man is back, Xavier Atkins, and for his junior campaign under DJ Durkin. You want to talk about foundations being let, keeping DJ Durkin and keeping your what's going to be de facto leader of the defense and the team, maybe in some ways too, is ready to roll because you're losing Keldrick Falk, you're losing Kieron Crawford, some of those other names. So there's going to be room abounding for all of that here. So there's that. Unbeaten Lake says, I'm ready to be overplaying these teams averaging 7 feet. So I think this again has to do with like the height and no one's really averaging 7 feet, a little bit of hyperbole there. Yeah, there's a lot of Auburn fans just obsessing about this height thing. And I once again will continue to ask you guys to analyze the average height and the starting center height for Auburn in their 2019 run to the Final Four. It's a lot worse than than people are lamenting about right now. What's the difference? Is they found a way to make it all mesh, but people forget is that didn't mesh right away. Like it took a little bit of time. So the problem is you're coming off of such a great season. You kind of were jolted a little bit out of all of that with Bruce retiring suddenly. Although I think the signs were always there for that to potentially happen. I get it. It's a little bit unsettling when so much is taken away from you, and then you're having to wrestle with this idea of, we don't have Janai anymore. We don't have Dylan anymore. All these things. It can be a little bit unsettling at times. All right. So that'll kind of catch us up with so far. We have our first caller ready to go this evening. We want you guys to get in line tonight. If I have one Christmas wish from everybody tonight, I'm calling out Stan, Unbeaten Lake, everybody who's here thus far that I've seen chat, I want to have you guys call in and just say hello and Merry Christmas. So let's see if we can have you indulge me this evening. But in the meantime, our first caller is ready, standing by. Let's talk to him. What's going on, Mr. Kevin?
Where you go? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and I love that you came ready for the show tonight. That means so much to me. I love it, man.
And I think Malcolm Simmons will withdraw his name from the transfer thing.
Well, I hate to break it to you, buddy. Very few of them that enter the transfer portal take their names out, but it has happened before. So you never know. I don't really have a gut feeling. Well, I guess I'd say my gut feeling is he's probably not coming back just based off of averages. But hey, listen, you'll be the one that have called it here live on the show.
I know who's coming back.
How do you know he's coming back?
And Xavier Atkinson.
Well, Xavier Atkins has nothing to do with Malcolm Simmons. I hate to break it to you, but I love your optimism about it, and I do wish that Malcolm Simmons would come back because I think he was the Swiss Army knife of choice for the wide receiver core.
And the new head coach talked with Kim Coleman's parents, and he's staying at Auburn.
Well, that's some of the reports out there is that the coaches have been talking with him about that. And then there's discussions about what people think they heard and stuff like that. I would just clarify, Kevin, that nothing's been said officially that he's staying at Auburn. So I don't want you to get your hopes up that that's true or anything like that. The only sources that I officially believe in are the ones that come straight from the horse's mouth. So once the Auburn football team or Cam says something like that, then I'll believe it, but I also am not worried about it either. So people come and go. That's the transfer portal world. And I just don't really, and I encourage others to not spend too much time worrying about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they want to see if they get, they go to another school, but if they don't, they could come back to Auburn.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I don't know the exact ins and outs of the legalities of how far they can and go with the process like the NFL draft, but listen, you can always take your name back out of that portal and come back in. And that's the hope, is that someone's maybe just kind of seeing what's out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that is afforded to you, the ability to try that, then listen, you can't really fault people for just checking things out and seeing what's the best option. It's the world we live in right now.
That guy used to play at LSU and Auburn. He's in the transfer again.
Who are you talking about specifically?
TJ Lindsey.
Oh, TJ Finley. TJ Lindsey was it's ironic you said that. He was actually a former commitment, and he's not been on the team for a while now, but I think he was on the roster. But TJ Finley, yes, he is trying to play again. It's
and I think our basketball team will beat Purdue Saturday.
I hope so. It will definitely make a lot of people feel better about the team. Although the sense of panic that I feel from some people is just silly, because they've lost to the number 1 and number 2 team in glorious fashion. But they took Houston down to the wire, so it's very impressive. Hello there, Kevin's mom. Nice to see you.
I'm not his mom.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, who are we talking to?
His girlfriend.
Girlfriend, excuse me. Well, there you go. Well, welcome. What is your name again?
Wanda.
Hopefully we see you at Tiger Walk next season.
Tiger Walk next season. Well, listen, Kevin, you have been telling me that for years, so I'm going to make it my Christmas wish this year that I see you at a Tiger Walk next year.
Well,
finally.
He was actually at
the
Mercer game.
The Mercer game. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I remember we talked about this, that you tried to make it there, but they started that Tiger Walk early, and we talked about that a little bit. Yeah, that was a very wild day for all of us, because Tiger Walk started, 15 minutes early. I was not ready. Neither were the photographers that were all there, because they gather about the same place that I do, right in front of the banner. And so when they were caught off guard, I knew, wow, something really wasn't communicated well. So I hate that you missed at least seeing us there. If you were playing on that.
But they signed my jersey.
Who signed it?
Deuce Knight.
Deuce Knight. Very nice. Very nice. Look, you got all the kinds of signatures on there, don't you?
Yeah.
Very
And
nice.
and the two players I did not get was Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson.
Oh, well, one of those is going to be very hard to get right now. The other one, you still have an opportunity to. We'll see how much longer. But Cam and Perry, those are probably two more popular ones that you can go out there and search for.
Yeah, I think that Perry Thompson might withdraw his name out of it.
We'll see. You said you think Malcolm's going to do it, and Perry. If you end up being right, my friend, then we're all going to be very happy campers for all of that. But we'll see. We'll see. What are you hoping to get for Christmas that's Auburn related, or did you ask for anything for Christmas that's Auburn related?
I want a Auburn warm-up suit.
An Auburn warm-up. Oh, so you want like a full warm-up suit that they wear out there for the basketball players?
Yeah.
You want one of those? You ever seen the breakaway ones where they can fling the pants off essentially? You ever seen those before, Kevin?
Yeah.
I've got not Auburn ones, but I've got some like that. I was wearing them the other day. I love those things. You just they fling them off and there you go. You're ready to roll.
Yeah, so ready to play basketball.
That's right. You a pretty good basketball player yourself?
Yeah.
Are you a power forward? What are you power forward, shooting guard? What are we looking at there?
No, I shoot those half court shots.
Oh, wow. So he's unto himself. So you and Wendell Green would probably get along real well because he liked to shoot from the logo. It sounds like you do too.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, one more thing. What you got on your mind tonight?
The special teams, the defense, and the offense.
What about them?
They will be good next year. You will see a new Auburn head coach.
Yes.
He will call the plays.
I hope so. I hope you're right, buddy. You are always our eternal optimist here, and I hope next year.
I bet they will have a real A-Day game for the spring.
That I really do hope that you are correct, but the way things are changing these days, I'm less and less hopeful for that. But I agree with you. I think right now we should expect one until things change. But
I hope
it's heading.
I hope we have a fan day in August.
I don't think that's going to happen. If anything, I think A-Day is going to happen. But I think last year they kind of showed that they were moving away from that concept. But we'll see. You never know. You never know how things change with new regime, things like that. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer the whole way. But I love your hat, buddy. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I hope you get plenty of Auburn gear this year. Okay?
Yeah, I can't wait. Tomorrow night I'm going to watch my high school play at UMass Wright in Mobile tomorrow night.
Well, you have a great time with that. You celebrate and have fun with your loved ones, and hope you have a Merry Christmas, okay?
Okay, War Eagle.
War Eagle, man. All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, there's our first caller this evening, Mr. Kevin, one of our regulars, usually right in there at the end, and we appreciate so many of you coming in and checking in with us on the live chat portion of this. Now, listen. I put a call out to all of you there that are watching live. My Christmas wish is for some of you that have never called in before to call in this time. We want to at least, you don't have to be on camera. I get the stigma of, it's kind of to put yourself out there and stuff like that. But WT, that goes out to you. I know you've called in once before, but this is your final one of 2025. So let's take that opportunity. Let's tell me what you want for Auburn Christmas, and you can do that by calling in this evening. This was from Hummer. He said Malcolm wants to be paid like Cam. I one of the things that I think we got to be careful of as fans is when we perpetuate these narratives that there's this type of thing. Maybe that's just an opinion he's sharing, but it sounds like it's something that he's talking about as fact. listen, we live in the NIL college transfer portal world where it is more and more increasingly about money, and that might actually be the case, but maybe it's just has nothing to do with Cam, has everything to be just, he wants to be paid more, whether Cam is or not. But, people would transfer back in the day when we didn't have NIL because they wanted to be the feature, whatever, quarterback, wide receiver, linebacker. They were hoping that they would increase their opportunities of getting more and better looks of tape to get to the next level. So some of that is still being played. Some of that is still at play as well for that type of stuff. All right, what else, chat? Let's get rolling here. It's been a little bit of a quiet and slow night here on Auburn Family Night, but we want to hear from you what you want to discuss. There are plenty of Auburn topics out there that we can dive into in a little bit more detail. Certainly, as we have wound down from our normal, cycle of Auburn football and things have quieted down just a little bit. The coaching search, and then coaches search. All of the searching for coaches, head coach and assistant coaches was the main topic. Now it's all moved into just speculation about who's going to stay, who's going to go, all that stuff. I think the portal window opens up on like the 2nd or 3rd. No, that wouldn't be at the 4th, 5th, maybe. Maybe it's like a Tuesday. Let's see if we can look it up real quick for you all. Transfer portal window, January 2nd through the 16th. Plus an extra 5 days, January 20th through the 24th for college football playoff players. So this eliminates the spring window for stability. So one transfer portal window, you got to make your decisions now. So really that's kind of what this amounts to. The other thing too is, and I know this is where a lot of your minds go for recruiting, there's a blank slate for Coach Galesh to kind of make his mark on this first class. There won't be any discussions about, he would just retain some of the work that Gus Malzahn, wow, that was a Freudian slip there, maybe wishful thinking, that Hugh Freeze did, because everybody has decommitted from this point forward. Unless I'm mistaken, let me look at it. Make sure that nobody is still listed in there. The Auburn class of 2027 is completely vacant. Wide the flip open. So we'll see what he can do with his first year. Certainly winning does help all of that, but those type of topics will get going. All right, so let's switch gears. Let me hear some conversation in the chat from you guys. What is your thoughts about the Auburn-Purdue game? How are we feeling about it? Are we still just obsessing about we're not tall enough? Have we thought beyond that, as I encourage you guys to do? Where are our minds at? Does anybody want to make a prediction about it? I am very much looking forward to this matchup because I loved this one last year. The result was obviously good, but I love that Auburn is being tested. I think at times Coach Pearl has lamented that they weren't ready for the gauntlet, or at least the way the schedule was laid out with some of these more challenging ones this year. But I think in the long run, being battle tested will pay off, and they won't be as shocked when they get to, hopefully, the tournament at the end of the year. They will be definitely tested for the SEC play, which is coming right around. Like, folks, do y'all realize SEC basketball will be here in 2.5 weeks, I think is what it is. 2 weeks from today is New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. And then that Saturday will be our first SEC basketball game. I do believe we will have a schedule conflict for that and won't be able to broadcast or do a post-game stream, at least in our traditional format that day. I might be able to do one much later in the day, but because of the way the calendar fell this year with everything, we weren't able to get all of our Christmas stuff and our family stuff aligned just right. WT says not as positive about it, I guess meaning the Purdue game, as I was earlier in the season. Yeah, that's fine. I think sometimes we're riding off the laurels of last year and assuming things are going to be just fine. I know it's very disheartening to see your team wallop twice, but I think context is always important in those type of feelings. Emotions of a situation matter, but context is equally as important, and they find that reality somewhere in the middle. And the context is you got your butts handed to you by the two best teams in college basketball. Let me double check and make sure that we're still looking at that too. Make sure that is still the same, that nothing else transpired of any interest in the meantime. Arizona, Michigan, 1 and 2 AP poll, coaches poll, they're flip-flopped. Both are undefeated. The majority of people are voting them as one of the two as number one. Based off what I've saw and what I've seen, I think Michigan is by far the better team. But hey, listen, the most recent loss for Auburn is Arizona. So I'll take them being the number one team. You couple that with Auburn playing Purdue, who's sixth in both of those. They lost to Houston, but had a chance to beat them at number 8. So what I think you can safely take away from it, and I think the Purdue game will certainly have a way to show us a fuller body of work about the non-conference, is where kind of Auburn stacks up. We know right now, based off of how they're currently playing, they don't stack up with the top of the top, Arizona and Michigan. That's you can just definitively say they should never in any conversation be considered higher than 3 based off of that right now, until things start changing for all the teams involved. But you could make a case that Auburn could find its way reasonably into a top 10 scenario if they just went on a tear here based off of how they performed against Houston, because they've shown that they're capable of that at a neutral site too. Yeah, it was a more favorable neutral site, but it was still a neutral site, and that's what all the tournament is going to be too. So that, plus if Auburn somehow does pull off the win over Purdue, I think you're just going to see a lot of people realize finally, maybe we were overreacting to that. The reality is Purdue is expected to win that game, right? And so that is not the most likely scenario, but what if they do? In fact, let's take a look at it here. They've only lost to Iowa State, who is number 10 at the time. And I think they're higher than that right now. They've beaten Alabama, beaten Texas Tech. Marquette, they've beaten pretty badly. Marquette's usually a decent team or a decent college basketball program. Currently, and by the way, if you missed it, the game's on Peacock, so you can only watch it on Peacock. I hope y'all are ready for all of that there. Right now, Purdue is favored on ESPN 65-34. 65-34. So there you go. WT says the Purdue game is winnable. I like how the team is progressing. The Unbeaten Lake, I'm not shocked to see you write that. That's been your thing you're focused on, the interior basically. But the interior defense, sure. I think one of the things that Coach both Pearls have known for, is their defense, right? And so when you see a part of that doesn't mesh up to what your expectations are, sometimes our expectations aren't necessarily what we should have been expecting. That's a little bit shocking, right? When you don't have Dylan in there, when you don't have Janai, you've got to find different ways to make up for what they did so well. You also don't have Chad Baker-Mazara in there. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a big man, but he was a larger, versatile combo guy. Like, he could do a lot of everything. So there's that element of it as well. It's just a different style team. Let me pull this up here too. I want to really reiterate this point for our audience here and continue to encourage you about how and what you should be thinking about this team in terms of its size. I just don't agree with this narrative that you should be concerned about the size of just solely about the size of Auburn's basketball team. Let me see if we can get that to pull up properly here. I just want to read to you the roster, and maybe we can even compare the current roster makeup to it and just see how it stacks up. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong in how I'm thinking about this, but I don't think it's the case. All right, let's look right here. So here's some of your big guys for Auburn 20 18-19, the Final Four team. Horace Spencer, 6'8". I always thought he was 6'9", 10, but he was only 6'8". D'Angelo Purifoy could kind of fall into this category at 6'7". Malik Dunbar, 6'6". Chuma Okeke, 6'8". He's tied with Horace for the tallest right now. And then you had Anthony McLemore, who was your starting, your big guy, your biggest guy, 6'7". I always had him pegged at 6'9", if not higher. He was only 6'7", and that was your power guy, right? You also had some guys that were a little bit taller that didn't play as much. Austin Wiley's on that team at 6'11", but he wasn't a starter at all. So let's compare it to this team. Let's take a look at it just to make sure we're not being, fair in our discussions about it. Abdul Bashir is 6'7". He's not playing a whole lot right now and having a lot of success, but there's that. Keyshawn Murphy is already taller than the entire starting lineup of the, of the 2018-19 team. The only person taller is Austin Wiley, who came off the bench. You've got Elijah Freeman, 6'8". So the same thing as Chuma Okeke right there. Keyshawn Hall, 6'7". You've got Mecca, and I think that's a big shot for people. Him being out for the year is just like, that was a big shot in the confidence for everybody there. Him being out is a rough one. Sebastian Williams-Adams, 6'8". Philip Jovic, 6'8". So right there, you've got 6'8", 3 guys at 6'8". You've got another guy at 6'7", and another one at 6'10". So right now, the size of this team in terms of height is by far and away much bigger, starting lineup and all, than the 2018 and 19 team. So this notion that somehow Auburn is at a deficiency because of their size is just a logical fallacy. However, what they're not doing is making the most of their opportunities, and I think that's what's making it seem that way. But you also couple that with who they're up against, some of these players and these teams. I don't know why I'm getting on this rant right now. It's just because I keep hearing it. So let's look up the roster for the Arizona basketball team. This is now the Arizona basketball show, I guess. We're looking at 6'8". I'm just looking for their tallest guys, right? And I don't know how their starters line up or anything like that. I can remember a few of them, but not 6'7", 6'8". There's a Krivas, I think he did play 7'2", 6'11", 6'11", 6'8". So yeah, they had a couple of 7-footers basically there. But you could average that out and see that they're, maybe not all of those guys were starting or playing or things like that. But there it is. Just some perspective on heights, sizes, all that kind of stuff. How I got on that rant for that long, I don't know, but there it is for that. All right, guys. Really quiet night tonight on the chat. If there's not much that you guys want to talk about tonight, and then since this being the last one, I'd hate to do this, but we can certainly wrap up a little bit. But let's see what you got. Let's get a little bit of liveliness here. Let's hear some comments, some questions, some topics, some calls. I remember my Christmas wish hasn't been granted at all here from WT, from Stan, from Unbeaten Lake at all. Just click the link. Let's talk to you guys. Let's get into it a little bit more. What was that Final Four's team's 3-point percentage in this year's teams? I would be interested in how that differs. Let's see if we can figure it out for you. It's going to take me more than a minute, actually. All time, we don't want 24 season stats PDF. That's going to be this current season. Where do I find this information for you without making this a boring show? My gosh, you'd think that they would have all-time season stats. Maybe that's it. There we go. I think we found it, guys. 2018 and 19 stats. Let's look at the PDF. And then maybe we can go back and look at both of these things to this point. See what it looks like. Okay, so here's what I have for you. This looks like it's all games. 3-point percentage. Total 3-point percentage was .377. That's for the 2018-19 team. This total 3-point percentage for this team through what? 10, 11 games, something like that. 0.359. So 35% to 37%. Not really that much of a difference. And I wouldn't be shocked to have seen that one would be a little bit lower, given that team, that's basically what it did, is shoot 3-pointers. So what's the difference, right? So in this conversation about height, size, interior defense, interior offense, all this kind of stuff, what's missing? What is it? Like, what's the issue? What is the thing that is lacking that is making people perceive that there is this big issue of size with this college, with this Auburn basketball team? And I'm not saying that your lack of size can't be exploited. It certainly can, and probably is the easiest thing to exploit in the game, but it certainly can be turned on its heels. And the 2018-19 was able to do that. Some people would say it's just because they shot the 3-ball well, but it's not that much different throughout the entirety of the season. And I can imagine that team didn't shoot that bad that often, right? I mean, there were probably some games where they just weren't what we were used to, and maybe even the basketball tournament, NCAA basketball tournament, really improved it, because that's where they really started lighting up, in the SEC tournament and all that kind of stuff. So there's your percentage, if I've looked all that up correctly there. WT says, I think that Final Four teams score so well from the fast break. This team gets the ball and slows it down a lot. So maybe that's a transition then, WT. And I don't mean transition in terms of on the court, but think about how this team did for the last couple of years, did this. And it is a brand new team, but the style, the mentality was slow it down and work it into Janai, to anybody down there. And now you're having to switch back to something else. And that's going to take a little bit of time to do that. I brought up something a couple of post-game streams ago about that I thought once, if you ever saw it, like Abdul Bashir get going, if Kevin Overton became very consistent, even more consistent than he was in his scoring too, how much more this team might even improve. And I think you've seen that from Kevin. Abdul's been a different story. But I mean, I think this team is a lot better than people are willing to see right now. I think everybody's a little gun shy after the year that has been in Auburn sports. And certainly when you, like I said, you get your coach taken away from you in the 11th hour leading up to the season, all your team is gone. You see Tahad not doing what you expect him to do at home. It's a little unnerving, and you can understand a little bit why. But no reason to think any less of the team tonight. All right, what else? What else do you guys want to talk about? No talk about the coaches? Does anybody have a opinion about some of the guys they're most excited about on the coaching staff? Ones that you're maybe not like against, but just intrigued, like why this one was chosen over the other one, all that kind of stuff. Certainly it's a brand new staff outside of two guys, DJ Durkin and Vontrell King Williams. Here's a question maybe that some people have an opinion on. I don't know that Vontrell was the one that everyone had pegged that would stay over, other than DJ, that would stay over. Who's the coach that you thought would stay on this staff that didn't? What do you think? Like, who is the coach from the last regime that you thought would have stayed and should have stayed, or something like that? Going back to basketball for a minute, WT says, I don't have any worries about this team. It's very good. You can't compare it to last year's best team ever. And I think it is most likely the best team that Auburn has ever fielded out there. It's so hard to make those comparisons with different style of basketball, different makeup of teams, different way of playing. You think back to some of the Sonny Smith days and things like that. You wonder how they stack up against the high flying Tigers of of Chris Porter, Mamadou Njai, and all of them. And then you've got that couple years removed, and you've got Kyle Davis, Marco Killingsworth, Marquise Davis, Lewis Monroe, all of them. I mean, it's hard to compare, right? WT with a little bit of fun here. Yeah, he did not stay, nor was he given the option to stay. I do hope that he finds. I hope right now that his focus is on his health, and I certainly think that he's going to do that. But we'll see how that stacks up there. All right, we got our next caller in here. Let's see what they're up to this evening. I think this is Mr. Hunter. What's going on?
How are you doing, Kyle?
Good to see you. Or I guess hear you. I guess more than anything, but good to hear from you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Sorry, I'm tuning in late, so y'all may have already gone over it. I'm driving home from the hunting club, so I got nothing better to do than give y'all a call, see how you're doing. But what are your thoughts on the coaching staff? I've seen some really high praise. I was just curious what your thoughts were, maybe like a letter grade.
Yeah, I know you just checked in, but I just asked the chat kind of something similar, not in terms of a grade, but like what I was thinking of, and maybe you can think about this while I'm talking and give an answer. Who's the person on the staff that you thought would have stayed that didn't, whether that's by their choice or, whatever. Maybe think about that and we can talk about it once I answer your question. So I would say, grades are so hard to come up with without having a body of work. I think DJ Durkin retaining instantly launches this up to meeting expectations. So, a C gets you, an average. So that immediately launches you up to, hey, we're not going to fall below average. I think Vontrell King-Williams certainly has proven that he is worthy of being retained and that his unit has been something to be proud of, because a lot of questions about that group. So that's another kind of plus in your column. As much as change is hard sometimes, you want, especially for a head coach who has a specialty, when they all do, an offense or a defensive guy, an offensive gets most of his staff that he wants there. I think that's always the right thing to do, at least in a first year. We saw how that kind of didn't work with Hugh and Philip Montgomery in that first year. I think Cody Burns is definitely more than just the rah-rah, I'm excited to have this guy back higher. I think he's proven that he's grown and is worthy of those titles that he's given as well. And then you got a couple up-and-comers like DeMarcus Van Dyke that seem to be very well talked about in the circles. So if I had to put a grade on it, I'd probably put, B+ on this, just to be somewhere in the safe range. I can't really say without more proof an A, but I think there's a lot to like here and a lot that could launch it into a much higher grade very quickly if all these guys meet up to their potential. So any thoughts yourself that way, or is there, like I asked you, is there a guy that you thought would have stayed?
Marcus Davis, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I would have liked to keep him on the staff just for the recruiting ability, because he obviously at a bare minimum has the ability to bring in high caliber guys.
Right.
Nothing against Cody Burns. I don't dislike the guy by any means. He's an Auburn alum. I love him. But I would have loved to have seen, I don't even know if it really exists, but kind of them work in tandem for that room. But I honestly, I don't know a ton about a lot of the coaching staff. I'll have to kind of do my own research, but I did see that they have like over 100 years combined coaching experience, and then almost half of that was SEC. So,
yeah, that's a really good point that I could have probably helped make my point. So I'm glad you brought it up. Is you have a lot of experience here. You've got guys that have been defensive coordinators. Now, some people will say that, well, their defensive coordinator stints were not very successful, so why would we suspect that they could do something good here? Well, it's not that simple, as I always say. But you got a lot of guys that have been defensive coordinators or former offensive coordinators or just have been around for a long time. So, and think about it this way, Coach Wesley McGriff has just been at Auburn forever and on and off stints. And so, like, his stability, his leadership, his experience has been crucial for multiple Auburn regimes. Now that you're losing him, you're bringing in some other guys that have that same, at least collectively, experience out there. And a lot of it SEC, as you so aptly put, Hunter. So that's a great point in maybe selling how we should feel about this coaching staff. You still there, Hunter?
You said retaining Durkin was, I mean, it was our, I am. My service is pretty spotty, so if it gets bad,
You're good
I gotta
now.
hang up. I get it. I just figured out.
No, we got you now, Hunter. You can keep going. Oh, well, I spoke too soon there. Yeah, Hunter, I think we've you're good. You're good. You can either we can either work through it for a minute here, or I can have you call back in. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. But I thought we had you back, but I'm not sure now. Yep, there we go. We'll call back in and let him finish up his call. Yeah, those cell towers, when you're out there, I guess coming back from the hunting club, they'll get you sometimes, won't they? Yeah, but if anybody else has any opinions about the staff, things that they like, they didn't like, things like that, certainly feel free to post those in the chat, and we can digest those a little bit if you have a grade, something like that. Yeah, I don't know really what metric you would to have like a really solid grade on the coaching staff, what you would do other than try to make points like their experience. Some of that is SEC experience. You got a lot of one thing that's interesting to me, we haven't had a chance to really digest as much, is Larry, not Porter, but I have not learned his name completely yet, the tight end coach, stepping down from Howard as head coach. Now, I mean, it's this weird dynamic, right? You are at a lower level of college football, and I only mean lower in just how it's played and considered and all that kind of stuff. Not that it's less of entertaining or anything like that, but you're a head coach there. Not only do you step back not to a defensive coordinator position, but to a just positional coach position, and probably the one that has the least amount of hype around. I mean, most people don't get excited about a tight end coach. I mean, you should; they're essential, but most people don't get excited about that. So most people tell you that that's like a step back for him, and it probably is. And maybe, I don't know how the pay is at Howard versus tight end coach at Auburn. Maybe it is still substantially more. It's just an interesting thing to think about. Someone chose to step away from a head coaching gig to come be a positional coach at Auburn. Even if it is kind of a step up, it's interesting, right? Yeah, that phone service, Hunter, was pretty tricky there, but we at least got part of your call in, so thank you for trying. He says, we need to enjoy Durkin while it lasts. He will be given another head coaching opportunity somewhere soon. This DJ Durkin thing is very interesting to me, because he even had a interview today they released on War Eagle Plus. I haven't watched it or anything, but I've seen the clips of it with Andy Burcham talking about him deciding to stay. And there's a lot of this. We hear this stuff all the time, right? We hear, I love Auburn. His community is so great, and to me and my family. But it is interesting, even with a guy like DJ Durkin, who has these, the past that's kept him from getting head coaching gigs. There's some of these mid-major, I guess I should say, group of 4 programs that would probably, not group of 4, excuse me, group of 5. We got to figure out a way to call them the non-power conference, the non-power conferences that would probably want to take a chance on him. And so it just begs the question, like, how much time do we have with him? I think at some point he deserves to have another shot at that if he wants. Maybe he doesn't necessarily want that unless it's the exact right fit. And maybe Auburn was that right fit for him, and it just wasn't the time. Or, if you're DJ Durkin, and in no way am I saying I want this or hoping this happens, but heaven forbid my prediction of the decade of irrelevancy continues since the firing of Coach Malzahn. Halfway there, folks. And Coach Galesh is not successful, and you're still here as the defensive coordinator. Likelihood of that happening is probably minimal, but let's just say it happens. Well, then you look at the guys and go, well, you passed on me last time. My defenses are still good if they are. So I don't even begin to know what DJ Durkin truly wants and what his best path forward for himself is, but you just never know, right? You never know what's on someone's mind, and maybe he truly just loves being in Auburn, and it made sense for him to do that. We've touched on the transfer portal a little bit. as I've always kind of said here, I'm not very big into too much speculation about it, about worrying about who is going to leave, or this might happen type of thing. Certainly we can talk about the people who have chosen to leave, if there's something like that you want to get into. So fire away, Hunter, if there's something you'd like. Nobody else has brought up too much in the chat right now for us to dive into any more detail. WT, I knew I was going to get WT stirred up with my Malzahn comments. If we had never fired Malzahn, I'm sure Herb Hand would have figured out our O-line by now. No, he would not have. Listen, I say that with some seriousness, that Gus Malzahn's downfall was bringing in Herb Hand, only because of just looking at what happened and what the biggest issue has been at the end of his time since that point. Herb Hand, is a great coach in the sense that he's been around for a while and he's had success in a place, and it just didn't work out here. And it just felt like at times it wasn't meant to work out, and he's just the scapegoat at this point. But there you go. All right, couple things before I answer some more questions coming from you guys tonight. Phone lines are still open if your cell service is working for that. So jump on in here if you haven't. Let me remind you of a couple of things here that we've got coming up for you guys on scheduled content. Post-game show, big one, Auburn Purdue. I will be here. I'll be ready to roll for that one right after. So join us for that. It is going to be a blast talking about that one, regardless of what happens. Auburn Purdue, big time matchup right after the game. So it'll be later on Saturday. I hope you guys can join us that next day. We've got the Auburn Experience live podcast recording episode 155. Austin and I will be covering the rest of the stuff that we didn't have time to get into. More schedule talk of announcements, even schedules for the spring sports and stuff like that. So y'all got to saddle up again. Who knows what else they're going to drop that we need to talk about in Auburn Experience episode 155. So that's your scheduled content for the week. And as always, we remind you of our friends at Alumni Hall. We are an affiliate of theirs. And if you ever want to shop with them and help support an Auburn business, you can do that. And we'll put links in the chat for you guys to utilize as we go along here. If you want to shop with them, get the other links to connect with us, things like that. The one I always post to start off with is going to be that one. It's called the link tree that gives you everything that you need, the quickest and the fastest, but the rest of the stuff we'll put in there as we have time to in our stream. But check them out. All right. What else? What else do you guys want to dive into, talk about, as I put some of that stuff in there for you, and we'll round out the show this evening. Let's see here. Do you believe that there will be an eventual salary cap like we see with the NFL? I mean, I think that question kind of answers itself. We all see that this is, doesn't that already exist? Like there's a maximum amount you can contribute supposedly as a university to this. And after that, it has to be certain other parameters. We all know the way this is heading. This basically like a mini NFL model. And so it's going to look more and more like that as time goes on, much to the chagrin of everybody else. Hunter says, I can see that if anything, that when recruits are signed on signing day, that they will have to agree legally binding terms to obtain NIL, such as X amount of years of retention. So they can get like a signing bonus. Jeez. Oh man. Yeah, we opened that box. It can't be put back in, folks. Or at least if it can, it'd take a lot of hard work. Could you imagine if one day all this was for naught and whoever, NCAA, everybody said, we are no longer paying players outside of their, normal scholarship and their, their stipend they get for whatever, for living expenses or something, like for food or something like that. Wow, what a day that would be in terms of just craziness out there. I think it was on Auburn Family Night. I talked about this a lot. I think that unfortunately, you should have to, if you achieve such an amount of disclosed NIL, you should give your scholarship money back. Like, you can have that spot as a scholarship player, but like that money should be given back because you don't need it. I'm sorry, you don't. If you have doubled the amount that it costs to go to school at Auburn, I think you can pay for your way to go to school. That's my opinion. I don't necessarily have a hard and fast rule about that, but it's just kind of something I've thought about. WT says, I think they could make it like the coaches have. If you leave, you have to have a buyout from the team that wants the player. It certainly would help a little bit with tampering and things like that. These are the things that we talk about now in the off season, and much less about what your roster is going to look like in just, all that kind of stuff. We focus on all these other things here. Unbeaten Lake says we should all go back to when college football was better and everyone was happier, which was August 31st, 2019 was the next day, the NIL. That feels about right? Or was that just the day before college football started that year? That sounds about right, because Bo, was it 2019? I think it was 2020, wasn't it? No, I guess it wouldn't. I don't know what it would have been. I don't know. I was happier in 2010. A lot of people still wishing for those days, and I understand it. It was good times, and I was lucky enough to be a student at Auburn University and experience that glorious, not only day, but season and time that it was. There was just something special about that year. Yeah, Bo Nix's first start was Oregon. I knew that, right? Yeah, but I remember he announced his little NIL deal like the day it became legal to do so, and he was already there for a while, and that would have been 2020. So I'm really confused by the timelines on that. Anyway, how the basketball team has looked so far. Yeah, we got into this a little bit, Hunter. You missed a little bit of that. Yeah, if you've only watched the big marquee games, those two teams, which are 1 and 2, they dominated us. Now, people tend to dismiss and forget that Houston game and how well Auburn played there and had the final shot to win the game and just wasn't able to get the job done. Obviously, you don't take moral victories, but that you can't not have that be not. You cannot leave that out of the discussion. Because then you're not having a well-rounded discussion. I hear that, Coach even said that moral victories are for losers, and I don't disagree with that sentiment. I think it's more so a way to kind of I was going to make a very crass joke there. Give people their jollies to that love that type of talk, man. It's so tough. But the reality is the truth. The moral victories don't mean anything other than it's a moral victory. But you still have to have them be part of the conversation. So other than that, I don't know where I was going with that. I rambled a lot. I've rambled a lot tonight. It's the final Auburn Family Night of 2025, as we realize. We should not have fired Chizik. It didn't have to be this way. At the time, I believe we shouldn't have fired Chizik, but time has certainly shown that probably had to be that way. Unfortunately, it didn't have to be this way for this time around on that one. Rodney, just get in here at the tail end of stuff. Good to see you at the tail end. Good to see you, my man. WT about basketball. I think the team has improved every game they played. Even in the blowout losses, the team stayed focused and fought to the end. On that point, WT, I heard from a lot of Arizona State fans in our comments and on our social media say that they felt that Auburn played much better against them than the score showed. And I'm like, I mean, maybe you're being gracious, but that's food for thought. Maybe adding to that point. Well, I've been in attendance in the Atlanta Baylor game. You're hoping to come that weekend. I would plan to be there at this point. I don't have a ticket or anything like that yet, but I don't see any reason why that won't be a high priority, thing for me. We'll likely be there. We should have fired Scott Offler, you mean? Listen, I have obviously someone that has, been very adamant about how we should, live by the Auburn creed and treat people with respect. But let's just call it Scott Offler was a terrible offensive coordinator. Sorry. It was not. This is the one time I will be a hypocrite on that one. It was awful. It was like watching paint dry. It was bad. All right. There you go. We're going to call it a night. Auburn Family Night is in the book for 2025. As a reminder, we will not have one next week because it's Christmas Eve. I got family to be with. We will 99% sure not have one New Year's Eve, although you never know. But I would not expect it at this point. Keep in mind, Auburn Family Night will happen on Wednesdays, barring unless there is a conflict of schedules, and the only schedule conflicts that tend to happen during this time of year are basketball. So keep that in mind. But other than that, we're excited to get to the new year with you guys and talk about that. Hope you'll join us on the Auburn Experience live podcast recording on Sunday night this week. And it's been a good year of Auburn Family Nights with you all. I know at times we've missed a few that y'all probably didn't want us to miss, but we've had a very interesting year family-wise, and hope to be talking about that more in the future, and hopefully be settling into 2026 very nicely. You will take any excuse to not have an Auburn Family Night. Not quite. But in fact, as I always say, that this show, and I know you're kidding. I appreciate this show so much because it is the easiest one to do. And I don't mean that I don't put effort into it. I just mean that there's not an agenda. There's not a plan. We go where you guys want to go. Yes, I said you guys ain't family. No, you are family, just in a different way. And they require my attention fully, and rightfully so, on Christmas Eve especially. But with that being said, first of all, let me wish you all a Merry Christmas. And as much as all the presents, the wrappings, Santa Claus, all of that are wonderful, I hope you understand and know the real reason for the season, and that is the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And as much as I can sit here and preach to you about that, I know you've heard it time and time again. I hope that you do know him as your Lord and Savior. Celebrate this wonderful holiday with your family, however you choose to do so, but I hope you do understand that reason. As we go, I want to remind you guys that, first of all, you're the best little family within the Auburn family. Second of all, that the Auburn Creed asks you to do these things: to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle, and Merry Christmas.